Alright, I might be the first one to tell you this as a black man, really. No intro or anything, I'm just gonna get straight to it. But the black community has a major problem, and the black community needs to be held accountable for their BS. And like I said, I'll be the first one to tell you this as a black man to another black person. Because we have these high class, black successful people, and they see this, but they don't want to address it. And something that I notice with the black community is that they're so afraid of criticism that they play victim all the time. If you stereotype them, they get upset. The statistics prove that the stereotypes are true. It may not be true to you, but the exception doesn't make the rule. And it's unfortunate that I had to talk about this instead of there already being a change, but there's not a change. There are more black men in prisons. It's not because they were placed in there. It's not because they were born in there. No, they got themselves in that situation. We always want to blame everyone else by ourselves. If you're a black ratchet raging bitch, then yes, if someone calls you black ratchet raging bitch, you're a black woman saying the N-word, being loud in a subway train, and someone calls you out on it, you're gonna get mad about it? Because first of all, if you're in public, no one wants to hear that shit. No one wants to hear it. A black woman would be in a restaurant talking with her girlfriends and they're so fucking loud. Take that shit home. No one wants to hear that. It's annoying. It's disrupting everyone else's peace, everyone else's dinner, because we all have to hear your fucking conversation. We don't care about what's going on in your day, what happened last week on Saturday at the club. The world doesn't revolve around you. And I know this is a major problem with black women in the black community. It's that they're super loud, which is why people put them in a category and they compare them to monkeys, because monkeys are loud, they're very disruptive, and they act like the world revolves around them, which is why monkeys pretty much fucking take anything they want, because they feel like they are kings and they are queens and they can do whatever the fuck they want. Major problem in the black community. Major problem. And another thing is, black people getting killed by the police is a very, very small statistic. A minority, a very small amount of black people are killed by the police. By a white cop, specifically. But we do not want to talk about these cases, a cop killing a Mexican person, killing a white person. We don't want to talk about that. And by the way, they were unarmed. But again, we don't want to talk about that. But when it's a black person, it's mainstream media, it's everywhere. It's the biggest topic for months. And then there's rallies, there's protests, and this isn't no disrespect on George Floyd or anyone, but why is it that when something happens to a black person, it's the biggest thing in the world, but when it happens to anyone other than a black person, silence and it's not important? Because truth is, black people are just as privileged, just as lucky as any other race in America. Now, you might disagree with this, but I'll get into that shortly. But you guys want to get mad at a cop killing a black person, which is a very small statistic. Barely happens, very rare. But you guys don't want to talk about black on black crimes happening in Compton, happening in Los Angeles, happening in Chicago. You guys don't want to talk about that. But you guys want to get mad because of a cop killed a black person. You guys need to understand, as a cop, killing anyone, not just black. Being a cop is a very stressful job, and I'm not even a police officer, and it doesn't take me to be a fucking cop to understand that. Being a cop is very stressful and it's very scary. Doing just a normal routine traffic stop can be deadly, and that could be your last stop, because someone may choose that today's my day. I don't want to get pulled over. I don't want a ticket. Even though it might just be $300 that I could pay off, I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to do something about this cop. Being a police officer is so dangerous, you don't even know. Then you go based off body language. Yes, even assumptions and how the environment feels, how the tone feels. There's this one video, a cop is pulling over someone, it's nighttime, you don't see the person in the passenger seat, but he goes to the window, the guy starts shooting the cop, fires at the cop, you hear a cop scream. It's a very graphic video. Being a cop is fucking dangerous. Someone could decide today is my day and they will kill a cop. Being a cop is very dangerous. If you start acting sketchy, a cop is going to react. That's all they could go based off, is how they feel, because they don't know what you're thinking about. They don't know. And I'm not really a person who cares about police. Honestly, I kind of have a sort of a dislike to the police, but that's not important. But I understand at least how difficult their job is. I don't get mad when a police kills a black person, even if they were unarmed, because I know how stressful the situation is. Now, when you see the video like what happened to George Floyd, yeah, that's something to get mad about, because that situation should have never happened. You know that police was really trying to cause some damage, and it led to a black man's death. Not even just a black man's death, it just led to another human being's death. But you guys need to understand, these other videos where a cop will kill a black person who's acting sketchy, humans are dangerous and they're capable of malicious and crazy things. You need to go based off of assumptions. If you're walking down the street, not a lot of people are around you, very isolated street, a black man, tall guy, it doesn't have to be black, but just for this situation, a black man, tall, broad shoulders, he has a pissed off face, just the face he wears, right? He has a tank top on, he has baggy pants. You're gonna tell me that you're gonna feel comfortable walking by that man? Of course not. And I'm telling you, as a black man, I'm not gonna feel comfortable.
I'm going to feel like, oh, this person might mug me. This person might try to beat me up. Because you just don't know. There's a whole saying, don't judge a book by its cover. It sounds great on paper, but it doesn't fucking work in practice. Because people are dangerous. People are suspicious. When you're meeting someone, you don't listen to them first. You're immediately looking them up and down. Because that's just how our eyes and our brain works. We picture things. We are very visual creatures, especially men. But humans are very visual creatures. We will look at how someone looks first. That's our first judgment. And then when we talk to that person, that's when we start dissecting things and taking things out, replacing it. Okay, this person isn't this, and I thought they were this, but they're this instead. That's when we start dissecting and we start changing things up a little bit. But as soon as we see someone, we're immediately judging them by how they look. So when you see someone who looks like a thug, you're going to think they're probably a thug and they're probably going to harm you. That's not being racist. It's just a stereotype. And unfortunately, the statistics makes that stereotype very, very true. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. And I'm saying this as a black man. Like I said in the beginning, I might be the first black person to ever tell you guys this, and you may not like it, but it's the fucking truth. And it's embarrassing for me. When I was a kid, I always had this slight embarrassment of being black. And it's not because I was racist. It's because of what I saw. Because I knew I did not want to be like that. But I saw a lot of my black friends around me, they wanted to be like that. They wanted to game bang. They were saying the N-word. I'd hardly ever say the N-word. I only say it when I want to be funny, like when I'm on my Dave Chappelle. I just want to be funny as hell. I don't say that as a regular word. No one will ever catch me using that outside, only if I'm saying it as a joke for whatever reason, which is a very small percentage. But you want to get mad at someone else who was saying the N-word. You can't get mad at someone saying a word that you're saying. We pick up on slang. Human beings, we pick up on slang. Let's say Eminem grows up in the hood. Black people, which he did. They're saying the N-word around him all the time. He's going to adapt to that, especially if they're older than him. White boy looks up to those black guys. He's going to adapt to that. He's going to say the word. Then when he says the word, he's in trouble. It's a fucking word. I hate to say it. I'm be the first one to say it. It's a fucking word and it's stupid. I think no one should be saying it. If you don't want someone to say a word, you shouldn't be saying it yourself. It shouldn't be heard and no one's saying it and no one's hurt. But you're going to normalize it. It's funny when a black person would call a white person the N-word, but then when he says it back, it's a problem. It makes no fucking sense. And it is so embarrassing and stupid how small things like that can make you mad. And the double standards, it is very apparent. You can't just say a word and get mad when someone else uses it. And it's not in a racist term. It's just that they heard it and they adapt to it. Just like how we adapt to slangs with all these stupid things. Like how everyone says cap. Like instead of saying, oh, you're lying. Oh, no, that's cap. Oh, that came out of nowhere. It's because we adapt to what we hear. Black people just love to play victim. It's their favorite thing to do. Even the statistics of stereotypes are accurate. You could Google it. There are more black people who steal than any other race, more black people in prison than any other race, more black people in low poverty than any other race. And it's not because they were placed there. It's because black people get too comfortable staying in the projects. They don't want to move out and they don't want to find other options. And they make the excuse, I don't have an option. Yes, you fucking do. Everyone has options. You control your life, no one else. You get yourself in a sticky situation, you are the only one to blame for that sticky situation. Not everyone, not the world. You can't hate the world. You can't hate society. That's your fault. You want to sell drugs? You want to get in a gang that you can't get out of? That's your fault. I had friends all around me wanting to do stupid shit like that. I told myself, hell no, I'm not going to do that. That's not the life I want to live. You got one life. And I'm atheist. I don't believe in hell, heaven, or whatever. I believe that when you die, you're just worm food. Why waste your life trying to do stupid shit and you get short because you get shot, you get killed? The ops pull up on you. What's the point in that? You are ruining your life for what? Nothing. You could have a much better life. You'd be very stable. That's why high value black men are very, very rare because they get too comfortable living in a situation they live in, which is normally not a good situation, but is what they're comfortable. I believe that it's important to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's something I'll always tell myself. Be uncomfortable being uncomfortable. You're going to try new things, but you're going to get better at it. You're going to feel weird about it, but you're going to adjust to it because that's how life works. You learn new things. You're uncomfortable learning it, but once you get the grips of it, it doesn't take long to. Let's say I'm black, because I am black. I might be mixed with a little something, I'm not sure, but the thing is I'm black. I apply for a job. I don't get the job. And I thought I did good. Then I yelled at the employer, you're racist. It's because I'm black, huh? No, it's not because I'm black. It's because I didn't meet the fucking requirements. Black people like to always say, oh, it's because I'm black. No, it's because you didn't meet the requirements or you're acting ignorant and obnoxious. The thing is, we have something called affirmative action. If you're a minority, you have a higher chance of getting a job because of affirmative action. It is to help us get accepted in jobs because jobs are now required to have a certain level of diversity. You're supposed to have mixed race. It's supposed to have women and men. And that also increases the chance mostly for black women to get jobs as well, especially. And that is something that a lot of black people don't know. A lot of black people don't know about affirmative action, but they want to keep complaining that they can't get a job. But they have this leverage here, this term and regulation that was made in the United States for minorities. But you don't want to think about that. You want to immediately be loud and obnoxious, which adds on to the stereotype that black people are loud, they're problematic, and they're dramatic. They always cause a scene. You see these videos on Facebook all the time. A black woman, a black man, destroying a store, trying to fight someone. But we don't want to address that. We want to blame other races for our ignorant behaviors. For no reason. We do not hold each other accountable for what goes on in the community, but we want to say Black Lives Matter, but we're the ones ruining our own lives. You guys are screaming out to other races. You guys get mad when a white-owned business doesn't have the Black Lives Matter sign, and I'm going to tell you guys straight up, I'm not a fan of Black Lives Matter. I don't care about that. What I saw happening during the whole protest, destroying businesses and stuff, that's not fucking cool. I was not alright with that. And they destroyed black businesses too. Now, I'm sure that will probably ring in your ear, but other businesses, it's stupid because it had nothing to do with the situation. I don't think you should be destroying anything, period. I don't care how mad you are. Have a peaceful protest, awesome. I would support Black Lives Matter, but that protest, it erupted to chaos. It was terrible. And I was embarrassed when that shit was going on. I was super embarrassed when that was going on. But we don't want to hold each other accountable. We don't. It's okay to be mad, but you need to also control yourself. You want to have a protest, you want to respect George Floyd. The fact that the protest happened and it was because of what happened to George Floyd, it's embarrassing and it's sad because the chaos that erupted there put a bad image on a black man who passed away, which the protests were inspired by that black man. You guys gave him a bad image. Destroying businesses, fighting people, hurting people, causing fires. The fuck is this? And it didn't do anything. It didn't do anything. All that for nothing. People stealing shit, breaking into a Foot Locker, I think it was. But we do not want to talk about that as a black community. We just want to play the victim all the time. We don't want to call out our ignorance because we're so afraid of our feelings getting hurt. So, another point I want to make, this very important point. Black people have no fucking excuses. We have just as much rights and freedom as any other race in the United States. White people, Asians, Hispanics, we have just as much rights as they do. And what's crazy is that you have these people who immigrated from Mexico coming to the United States. People coming from Afghanistan, Iraq, India, coming to the United States. Build their lives from the ground up. People hating them, people discriminating them. They get so much shit. And I personally believe that brown colored people, not black people, brown colored people like people who are Arabic. Indian Arabic people get more hate than Mexican people, Asian people, and black people combined. Especially what happened with 9/11, people are still hurt in 2022 to this day about what happened. And that's why you hardly will ever see a Muslim person wear a hijab. Because they are worried about being attacked by someone. But the point that I'm trying to make is that they will come to this country, build their business, build their lives from the ground up, living a great life in the next 10 years, 10, 15 years. Not complaining, not trying to play victim. And the truth is, a lot of these people who came from Iraq, had worse lives than you as a black person. And I don't care you believe you grew up in the worst hood in the world. They've seen more shit. They've dealt with more things than you have ever been through. They were in countries where the government was corrupt, the government was weak, their areas was controlled by bandits, by terrorists, people who wanted to hurt them, public executions with no penalty. They never complained though. They fled, came to the United States, struggled, was discriminated against Americans, were spoken rudely because they didn't speak the language, they didn't know any ounce of English. But they worked hard to build a life for them, for their family, which is why you see these Indian doctors, these Arabic Muslim doctors, brain surgeons, businessmen, people with their own shops. This is why you see them a lot in the United States. They didn't complain. They didn't play victim. They did not complain. You know what they did differently that the black community seems to not fucking understand? That I ended up doing for myself? They proved other people wrong. They got rid of the stereotypes. They built a business that people go in and out of. People say hello, nice to see you. They have a smile every day because they see that that person is a nice individual. I hated the black stereotype so much that at a very young age, and I also was born with autism, and I had a very hard time. I had therapists coming in and out. I had counselors coming in and out of my house for home visits. It affected me a lot as a kid. I was very isolated. I didn't hang out with my siblings a lot as a kid. I wasn't close to my siblings. My siblings were very, very close to each other. I was, because I grew up differently. And I personally believe that I adulted a lot quicker than I should have because of that. Because I was around adults all the time. I was around my therapist all the time. And I had 3 people visiting my house, checking in on me asking questions, talking to them helping me with my autism, my anger issues. I didn't use that as a fucking excuse. What I ended up doing is learning how to play the piano, learning how to play the guitar. I got into building computers. I got into knowing how to edit videos, do graphic design. I started reading a lot of books. I learned how to cut my own hair. I wanted to be independent and I wanted to get out of the statistic. I wanted to get out of the stereotype, which is why I read a lot. Which is why I speak so fluently, which is why I speak so elegantly, because I made sure I did not sound like those who look like me sound like. I don't use slang. I feel like using slang is a bad image for you. Just use English like the rest of us. I don't use slang. I work very hard, and I'm only 20. I work very hard just to not let my autism get to me and not let the stereotypes get to me. And that's something that a lot of these people from India, from Afghanistan and Iraq did when they came to the United States. They didn't complain. They built themselves from the ground up. They learned English. They know how to articulate words. And they set themselves up for a very good life. And they were treated worse than black people. But black people like to complain all the time. And that's why I'm disappointed in the community, because no one else is talking about it. Kevin Hart isn't talking about it. Steve Harvey isn't talking about it. These black influencers, these black celebrities are not talking about it. And if they talk about it, it's a split second and they go easy. They go easy on the community about these topics. It's a very disappointing community to be in. I hate to say it. Again, I said this 4th time. I'm going to be the first one to tell you guys these things. Because I notice I'm very different from the statistics. And I had friends who fall in line in the statistic. I even have family members who fall in line in statistics. I'm a blunt person. You guys watching videos, I'm blunt. So I'm just being truthful. I have a sister who's ratchet, loud, and who is obnoxious. She doesn't want to listen to anyone. She thinks she's right all the time. This is a major problem in the black community amongst black women. Now, this is why black women always have 5 baby daddies. No man wants to take them seriously because their attitude, they're too masculine. They don't listen. When I can easily just get a traditional Hispanic woman who can cook, clean, take care of a bunch of kids, and not complain and be happy doing it. Because she loves me and she loves our family. But with black women, you can't get her to do that. Black men are going to prisons at an alarming rate. Not because they were placed there. Not because cops are racist and they just threw them in there. No. Especially today, you gotta have hard evidence just to be incriminated and to be thrown in prison. But you don't want to talk about that. You just want to call black men and black women kings and queens. Which we're not. You need a king to be a queen. But most black women are single with a bunch of babies. It's the fucking truth. It's sad. This is why a lot of men don't take black women seriously, which is why they have the least approval rate in the dating market. But yeah, we don't talk about that. We just like to act like we're amazing and shit like that. Black Lives Matter. All that bullshit. Yeah, I'm the first one to tell y'all this. But hey, it is what it is.